Okay, this is part 2. Today I'm going to be bleeding the integrated ABS unit, or the Evo brakes, or the ABS 3 brakes, whatever you want to call them. These are the servo assisted brakes. I'm going to be bleeding the 6 bleeders on the ABS unit. This is a 2-year service. My first part video was the wheel control, or wheel circuits. This is the control circuits. This is a picture of the actual unit. The bleeders on the left side are R2, F1, and F3. And the ones with the F, anything with F is front brake, and you're using the front reservoir as well as the front lever to bleed. And anything with R's, 1, 2, and 3, are going to be the rear, using the rear reservoir as well as the rear foot pedal to pump the brakes. You will be removing the battery to get to the F2 and R1 bleeders. And you're going to be using reserve brakes. You're not using the servo, so you're pressing and opening, pressing and opening. A little bit longer process, but it's pretty easy. F2, R1, and R3 are on the right side. So first thing you want to do is turn your handlebars all the way to the left. I bungee corded them so it stays there. Open up the reservoir. You're going to be covering your bike so you don't get any spillage on the paint. I put plastic underneath the pig mat, so because plastic will actually drip somewhere else that you don't even realize it, and you just ruin your paint. So open up the top, clean that diaphragm, rubber diaphragm, and only use isopropyl alcohol or fresh brake fluid to do that. Otherwise, you could cause the rubber to swell, and you might lose your brakes. So suck out as much fluid as you can from the reservoir. Turkey basters are okay, but they do drip. I use a syringe to do that. Drain it down to those 2 holes in the middle, as you can see, because every time you pump the brakes, it will be squirting fluid out of there. So what I like to do is I like to take a little washer, stainless steel washer with some wire on it, and I bend it over the edge, and I put it right over the top of the hole so it doesn't squirt out. Prevents the mess. Some people use a quarter, but I like to use the wire. Here's a picture of it in the actual unit. So you're going to fill up your reservoir, and then you're going to start your bleeding. Okay, this is my ABS unit. My reservoirs are actually on the back, on the right side of the bike, underneath the seat. Yours might look different. It might be tilted upward, and reservoirs are actually on the unit. Okay, this is a picture I drew of my ABS unit and the bleeder locations. All the pink ones, F1, F2, and F3, are for bleeding the forward control circuits. You use the front handbrake for that, as well as the front reservoir. And all the R's in green, R1, 2, and 3, are the rear, using the rear reservoir and the brake, the foot pedal. This is a picture of what yours might look like. This is the sequence for bleeding the front control circuit. And it's written on the, I don't know if you can see all the writing, hopefully you can. And the next picture is the sequence. Okay, this next picture is the sequence for bleeding the rear control circuits, 1, 2, and 3. And you're using that rear reservoir underneath the seat on the back side. And the next picture shows the full picture, the whole sequence. All the white 1, 2, 3 are the front control circuits using the front handlebar reservoir. And the 1, 4, 5, and 6 are the green, are the rear reservoir, and where you see front and rear, those are for the wheel circuits. Those are the reservoirs for wheel circuit bleeding at the calipers. Okay, next step is to bleed the ABS unit, and to do that, I took the battery out. Took the negative cable off first, always. So that's out. So now you can get to 2 bleeders, R1 and F2, which are right in there. R1 and F2, kind of hard to get to with the battery in, impossible actually. So you're going to do this with just pumping the handbrake. You're not going to use the ABS pump on this one. There's actually 6 bleeders on the servo unit. The sequence for bleeding the front brakes will be the front filler adapter. Then you're going to go to F1, F2, and then F3, and then you go back to F1, and you are done with the front circuit. But here's the tool here. Kind of made it on an angle. Looking at it from the front. So basically you feed it underneath here like this. And then you can get it on on the bleeder like that. Alright, and then I ground around the head so it's thinner on the top because it's very, very close tolerance up inside there. And my bent wrench worked great on F1, F2, and R2 bleeders. I think it's better than having a ratchet on the end of a bent wrench where you got to constantly switch back and forth while you're closing and opening the bleeders. It's a lot easier. The wrench is about 3 inches from the inside to the outside flat, as you can see, and it works great on F1. That's about as far as you want it, otherwise you'll be hitting the front filler adapter when you're trying to open and close the bleeder on the F1 circuit. Okay, the next step in this process is going to be to bleed the front filler adapter. Remove the cover. And we're going to be installing this. Before you put the speed bleeder in, grind the tip down a little bit, because as you start screwing it in, it's long enough where it will actually open the ball valve and it'll start leaking past the threads. So don't use a regular bleeder on this because it'll be leaking out all over the place as you tighten before you actually get it sealed and fully tightened. And this is going to be used for the clutch as well as this, so this is going to be one of your tools to keep. And this is also used for the rear brakes as well. And you can, leave it installed, obviously. So use a 5mm. Here's a picture of a speed bleeder before and after grinding that little tip down. Okay, this is a photo of two bleeders. The left is normal, a regular one. The one on the right is a speed bleeder. You can see the little insert, little circle in the middle there. If you bought a bike and you don't know if you have a speed bleeder, that's how you can tell by that little circle, and that's a speed bleeder. Not a ball driver, because you'll probably wind up stripping it, so get a good socket if you can. And it's not nothing's going to come out of here. It's got a little ball in there, and it's basically for the factory to fill the reservoir up front. So they backfill it. So the ball is spring loaded this way, so nothing's going to come out. But you're going to be putting the speed bleeder. Let me see if I can get a picture of the inside of it. Same with the clutch. See the ball? Like a one-way check valve. So now we're going to install this, so nothing to worry about. And right now I have the front master cylinder up on the right handlebar. It's still on. I'll do that next. I'll open that up, and this is a 7/16, so speed bleeders are standard SAE sizes, either quarter, 3/8, 7/16, and so on. Okay, as I'm putting the speed bleeder in, it's pretty long, so it already hits the ball valve and opens it almost immediately as you start putting it on. I barely get a turn out of this thing where it catches the sealing thread, so I don't get any fluid out. So grind the tip down. It keeps allows you to get a couple threads before the ball opens. Ready to start bleeding the forward front filler adapter. Got the front reservoir cap off. It's full. I'm going to open this a quarter turn. So it's a 7/16. I'm just going to grab the sides of this just to make sure I don't damage anything. So quarter turn. Now I'm going to grab the handle. I'm going to press it slowly. So you hear the switch click. Press it slowly. You see the fluid coming out. Pressing it slowly to the end of travel, and I'm releasing it slowly. Forward brake handle. So I'm up here watching the reservoir. Down the bottom again. Brake handle all the way out to like position 4. Pressing the handle. About the speed blades, you can just throw them on the floor. You're not going to make a mess. Okay, close the speed bleeder. Yeah, I didn't have it open that far, so that's it. So I'll take that off. I'll remove the speed bleeder and put the grub screw back in. 10 Newton meters is what it calls out for torquing, so don't overdo it. That's it for that one. Okay, the next step in doing the control circuits for the front, after I just did the filler adapter, that's done. Grub screws back in, torque down to 10 Newton meters. The next step is going to be F1. I refilled the reservoir, and I found that this type of a wrench, arrangement is going to work just perfectly for F1. Get it in there just like that. Let's see if you can see that. Okay, I'm going to put my hose on there, and I'm going to begin bleeding that one. Right down to where it's located. It's down in there. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm not sure if I can do this all, I'm going to press the lever slightly until I hear the click of the parking brake light switch. There you can see the fluid. And then I'm going to, with my other hand, I'm going to come over on this side. While I'm pressing, I'm going to open. So I'm starting to press. And there comes the fluid. Handle's almost down to the bottom. Closing it. Closed. Now I can release it slowly. I'm going to keep an eye on the reservoir. Didn't go down very much. Okay, pressing. Opening. Pressing, it's halfway. 3/4, almost there. I'm going to close it. Releasing the handle. And I'm doing this by myself, so it's not that hard. Bring the bleeder. Some bubbles. Closing the bleeder. Releasing the handle. So that one's done. That was F1. Okay, this is F2. My tool is working just perfectly in there. It's in the battery compartment, so you can see it there. So I got my speed bleeder hooked up to, not speed bleeder, my speed bag hooked up to F2. And I'm going to get and open it up, or I'm going to start actually pressing the handle slowly until I hear the click. And once I hear the click, I'm going to open the bleeder. Click. Opening the bleeder. Pressing the handle. Here comes the fluid. It's getting close to the end. I'm closing the bleeder and releasing the handle. The handle, hear the click. Open the bleeder. Here comes the fluid. Getting close to the end of travel. Closing the bleeder. Releasing the handle. Basically, you want to do it till the fluid is nice and clear. Can you see it? Yeah, you can see. Coming to the end of travel. Closing the bleeder. Releasing the handle. Handle's released. Pressing the handle, hear the click. Handle is firm. Opening the bleeder. And letting it bleed out a little more. And the reservoir is still almost not full, but so we'll keep going until we get no bubbles. Make sure this is on nice and tight. Pressing the bleeder, or the handle. Opening the bleeder. Few bubbles. Closing the bleeder. Releasing the handle. So if we would have stopped too early, we wouldn't have got those bubbles out. So pressing the handle. Opening the bleeder. A few more bubbles. Closing the bleeder. Let me just double check the reservoir. And we're done with F2. Just on to F3. Okay, on to the last of the front wheel control bleeders. F3 is the long one on the left. Got it labeled F3. I put a long wrench on there. I can't fit my bend tool in there, so that works. A nice thin long wrench on the body. Put the box end on first. Okay, pressing the handle.
Got the click, I'm opening the bleeder. Continue to press the handle, that one's coming out a little black, so that's good. Almost to the end of travel. Closing the bleeder. Look at the dirt. Not sure if that was in the, more likely it was in the bleeder nipple because it's such a long one. Releasing it. Okay. Pressing the handle. Opening the bleeder. Getting to the end, closing the bleeder. And releasing the handle. And the fluid's coming out clean. So it was probably dirt that was in the end of the bleeder. The handle. Nice firm handle. Somewhat clean fluid, there we go, no bubbles. Into the end of travel, closing the bleeder. Releasing the handle. We're getting bubbles, but I'm not sure if it's from the bleeder being loose at the end and it's coming in. You can always shove grease around the end. I'll keep doing it, see if I can get no bubbles. Okay, I'm going to turn the video off while I do that. Okay, we're back to F1, so we went from front filler adapter to F1 to F2 and then to F3, which is down there, and F1 is that one, and F2 is on the other side, just the same spot but on the other side. And then we come back to F1 and then we're done with the front circuit. Now we can do the rear, which is going to require us to go to the back reservoir and put the funnel back in and do R1, R2, R3, and then back to R1, and we're complete. Basically, after I'm done, I closed them all up. I cleaned out all the bleeders. For any extra, I'm going to leave the caps off because I want to leak check them afterwards. So the next step is to close up the master, and I'm going to fill it up. I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, fill it up to that little step. We're good there. So I'm going to do that now. Next, I'm going to close this up. Start on the rear. I took both screws off the rear reservoir. It just makes it easier to get to that, to be able to put the funnel into the rear reservoir because it's blocked by the cross member. And you got to move this tank out of the way. Just one screw, piece of cake. All right, so I'm going to try to show you. Move it up a little bit. I'm doing R1. So right now you can see I got the bleeder hooked up to R1, which is on the inboard side. Here's my hand, my left hand on the brake pedal. I'm pressing, pushing, opening the bleeder. Here comes some fluid. And I'm not sure how far the travel is, so I'm going to close it now until I figure out where the travel is. Okay, I had a little bit more, that was good. So you can see the fluid coming out. And you're watching this reservoir go down. Okay, pressing the foot pedal, opening the bleeder. Nice clean or bubble-free fluid coming out. Almost to the end of travel on the foot pedal, closing the bleeder. And releasing. Okay, the foot pedal. Okay, that one's done. So I'm going to tighten it up. And then go to R2, and we're going to come back to R1, so don't over tighten it. And you shouldn't have to over tighten any of them. So get a hemostat. I'm going to get as close as I can. And I put a rag underneath it. Okay, barely get anything out of it. When you release the hemostat, fluid goes all the way down into the bag and no mess at all. So this is okay. We're on to R2, which is on the left side of the SBC unit, labeled in yellow. This is the one that's a little bit hard to get to because it's behind the lines. This is where you got to make something like this. You got. I just took a Craftsman 7 and 9mm wrench I found in my toolbox and probably never used it. But you need a box end wrench. You see the top is kind of ground, a little bit thinner. And I also, just a propane torch in the vise. You can get this thing pretty much red hot, and then or MAP gas is better. It's hotter. But I had propane and it worked just fine. So I'll bend it in the vise, and you see it's got a little bit of an angle to it. Whether that's, it seems to work for everything else, but let's see, we'll have to try it. See if I can get it open and closed. All we have to do is be able to get it open and closed. Okay, so it's on. Okay, I got the bleeder bag hooked up to R2, and that'll be our next circuit to bleed. And I'm going to press the foot pedal slightly till I hear a click, and as I'm going down, I'll open up the bleeder, and I got some fluid coming out. I'm getting close to the end of the trowel on the bleeder, so I'm going to, or on the foot pedal, I'm going to close the bleeder and release the foot pedal. Pushing the foot pedal down again, give it a click. A couple bubbles coming out. Closing the foot pedal, or the bleeder, sorry. Just doing this over and over until I'm satisfied with it. So do it until you feel comfortable, and keep watching your reservoir. Okay, now I'm hooked up the speed bleeder bag. It's hooked up to R3, which is the long one on the right side. This is F3. That's R3. So that's the last one. We're going to do the same procedure to go to the brake pedal. Start pressing the brake pedal, open the bleeder. As the brake pedal is coming down to the end of travel, close the bleed screw, and then continue pressing and then release it once it's closed. And then we're going to go back to R1, and then we're done. I'm putting the bleeder back on. Okay. Okay, pumping the foot pedal, opening the bleeder. Okay, here comes the fluid. Closing it, releasing slowly. We're starting to press the foot pedal, opening the bleeder. Getting close to the end of travel on the foot pedal, closing the bleeder, releasing it. Looks good. That one. Okay, we're going back to R1, which is on the same side, so I'm going to leave the camera right there. R1 is the last one. So we went R1 first, R2, then R3, and then back to R1. And I'm just going to bleed this off till the reservoir is, this funnel is actually completely empty and a little bit lower than the max mark. And then I'll be done with the control circuit bleeding, which is the 2-year service. And I'll just have to do it in 2 more years, so it wasn't too bad. It's pretty easy actually. Once you do it once, it'll be easy next time. I got the shorter wrench on R3, or R1, I'm sorry. Pressing the foot pedal, opening the R1, comes the fluid. Getting close to the end of travel on the foot pedal, releasing, or closing the bleeder, releasing the foot pedal. Pressing the foot pedal, opening the bleeder at the same time, and there's the fluid coming over the top. Nice and clean, no bubbles at all. Releasing the foot pedal, already closed the bleeder, and I'm just watching the funnel now, I'm just going to bleed that out. And that's it. Onto the clutch. That's the last thing. Okay, don't forget to check your reservoirs, top them off. The front right-hand handlebar reservoir does not drop in fluid with worn brakes, so once you fill out you should be good. The 2 rear are the wheel circuits reservoirs. They will drop with the
the movement of the caliper pistons in the front and the rear with worn brake pads after you've shimmed them out, and then you put your brake pads back in, especially if they're worn, those pistons will push out and cause those reservoirs to drop, which could cause a brake fail light. So fill them up.